Welcome everyone. So this is the not failed double weave project. This is probably the first project on the rigid heddle loom that I genuinely didn't enjoy weaving. It's kind of like how I feel about entrelac in knitting. I've done it once, I can do it, I have no need to do it again. I think double weaving on a rigid heddle loom is great if it's the only loom you've got. If you only have a skinny loom and you're trying to weave clothing or blankets or what have you, it's worth the time and fuss. But as you can see, I have a floor loom. I can do wide stuff. I can do double weave on that with a much clearer and more open shed and get genuinely wide fabric. I'm not going to do that on this loom ever again unless I have a desperate need, which I don't foresee, hopefully. This was a 4-step pattern. The steps are actually mostly easy. The third one is really cool because all the threads sort of pop up almost musically. But the fourth one's a pain in the butt because you have to manually clear it with your fingers because you need that tactile response to show the shed, to show when you're in the right path for the shed. And it's a narrow shed. It was a real pain in the butt. But I have 2 layers, as you shall see better when I finish taking it off the loom. One of the challenges with this weave is that it's really hard to do an effective hem stitch without sewing the 2 layers together. So I'm not doing it. I'm just going to hope it stays close enough together. I might lose a pick or 2 at the end, and it'll just be what it'll be. So now we get to do the magic. My pickup sticks are still in there, and I've put safeties on them so that they stayed, so they can come out now. The safeties were quite useful, except that one's tight on this end. Okay, it's just not coming off without cutting. They were loose strings strung around so that I couldn't slip out and lose things off the end. Because this got a little bit bulbous, I could tie it here and it won't come off. Okay.
Repeat that.
So because this is narrower than right here, this doesn't slip off, so I could make a loose hanging tie. It didn't cinch me down to anything in the warp, but it did make a closed loop, so if my pushing pulled the stick a little bit through the threads this way, the thread was a safety for me to push it straight back through without dropping any. Saved my butt multiple times. All right. This was a 100-inch warp. It took far more than normal for the tie-on because it kept not being tight enough because it's a stretchy acrylic. So I probably wasted nearly 12 inches at the front just to get this tied on. I followed the Liz Gibson method from Long Thread Media. Threading the heddles was quite easier than I anticipated it being. And I tried an interesting thing. This is a black layer and the other side is a shades of gray layer. But I swapped threads every so often and closer together towards the fold, which means the back is the shades of gray with occasional black. And now we get to see what it looks like. And the magic is that it is double wide. Apparently, minus a thread. I'm not surprised that there's mistakes. Front and back. The green ties are so I could measure length between ties. An experience I'm glad I've had, won't be repeating. Happy weaving!